My mom just sent me this old test I had from the 7th grade that showed I got 100% on my quiz in astronomy, like back when we had 9 planets. 7th grade science teacher was all about astronomy, so that was his big thing. And that's probably where I got started with astronomy. So we're going to the server room now. This is a room that has a lot of our computers that we have running all the time. They're a little bit noisy, so we don't have them out here. I'm an R&D engineer here at UC Berkeley Radio Astronomy Lab, and I get to work on all kinds of radio astronomy instrumentation projects, currently mostly SETI related. A lot of the stuff at that end is for the Astronomy Department itself, not our screen. These are our racks here. We have this is a little 1U thing, we call this our head node. This guy has a disk drive that has an operating system on it, and he runs Linux. This guy is really the brain of everything, and these guys just sort of wake up and run everything from him. And so that really simplifies our system administration because one system, there's one place to install software, and everybody gets the same version of everything. There's no worries about like what version of program do we have on this computer versus that computer. Everybody gets the same thing. So the compute node we saw in there is used for this project called Breakthrough Listen, which is a different kind of SETI experiment than this commensal observing. With Breakthrough Listen, we actually get to point the telescope where we want to point it. This is our compute node. We can actually look inside this guy if you want. So we can go inside here. Dual CPU system, memory. We got a lot of disk drives here, 24 disk drives in the front, and then this is a Titan X GPU here. This box basically records data while we observe. So for Breakthrough Listen, we actually get to point the telescope where we want to point it and tune the receiver where we want to tune it. And so we're in charge, we're in the driver's seat, and we get to record the data while we are observing, and then we can go back and crunch the numbers further. But the idea is we wipe the data every day after we've written off the good stuff. We start over again. And so RAID 0 gives us a lot of disks in parallel, so we get a lot of throughput because we have very high data recording needs for this project. Mostly what we do is record it to disk while we're observing because we have so much data coming in. This is currently running on the Green Bank telescope, and it is very wide bandwidth, and so we get a lot of data coming in, recorded to disk. We use a RAID 0 array, which is basically a bunch of disk drives in parallel. A lot of these telescopes tend to be in remote locations which have limited throughput to the internet, and so we can't just take all the data from the telescope and send it to the cloud. We have to do other data reduction techniques to make it a more manageable size that we send, because you send it. The voltage data is just too much to send, so you have to do something with it. I was doing some work with embedded programming. I ended up connecting with some people who worked at the SETI Institute on the Allen Telescope Array with this little tiny embedded Java device called the Tiny. And then a few years later, I saw a job posting for software and hardware development on the Allen Telescope Array here at the Radio Astronomy Lab, and I applied. The rest is history, sort of. Did I have a messy bedroom growing up? I did, actually.
So that seems like kind of you playing around with things.
Yeah. In fact, my whole life has been kind of disorganized chaos, I guess you'd call it maybe. And so this is kind of more of the same.
That's awesome.
Yeah.